Hounds Town USA presents The Dish on Dogs.
Welcome everybody. Welcome to The Dish on Dogs, the show about dog behavior. So we're going to be dishing out our views and opinions about dog behavior. I'm your host, Mike Gould, founder of Hounds Town USA, home to the absolute happiest dogs on earth. We now have 17 locations in 6 states, and we're strategically and organically growing. With that said, I'd like to welcome, of course, Ashley, the lovely Ashley Pizzo is here joining me, my co-host.
Hello, everybody.
And we also have our canine guest, the beautiful, glamorous Brooklyn. Brooklyn, we're going to talk about her. We're going to do not a demonstration because there's nothing to demonstrate except that she's an amazing dog that we've been playing around with today while her mother is at work. And we're going to talk about that later in the show. We'll talk about Brooklyn. I want to welcome Pete Murad and I hope I'm saying that right, Pete Murad from Michigan. He's our newest member of the Hounds Town dysfunctional family. Him and his lovely fiancée, Kristen. I'm assuming she's lovely. I've never met her, but I know Pete's
Can't not say she's lovely.
Well, I mean, Pete's a good guy, really a good guy, so I assume that he has a really wonderful partner. Anyway, they're opening in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. They're actually opening 3 locations, which is pretty cool, you know. They have confidence. Pete's a smart, strategic planner, as I am, and he sees the value of Hounds Town, and we're excited to have him and Kristen on board, and we're looking forward to going out to Michigan and opening 3 locations out there. So we're live. We're also broadcasting live on Facebook, right?
Yes.
So if people have Facebook Live, you can go to Hounds Town Radio and go on Facebook. I don't know anything about it, but I know that it's happening, and it's nice. So Hounds Town is home to the happiest dogs on earth. What is Hounds Town? Hounds Town, for those of you who've never heard of us, is a fully interactive pet care facility. What does fully interactive mean? It means we specialize in taking dogs of all sizes, ages, and grouping them, putting them in natural packs. And as you'll see, we don't discriminate against breeds. So the dog that we're going to show you, Brooklyn, for those of you who are watching, she's actually sound asleep right now. It's past her bedtime. But normally, she's in a pack of dogs all day long.
That's where she was all day today.
That's why she's so tired. So we're going to wake her up during our 7-minute break and just show you how simple it is to modify a dog's behavior. And one of the things we do is something called turbo dog training. So it's a process that's so simple. It's human brains, the human brain makes things complicated. And the dog world is so toxic now in many regards. It's never been more so. So it's a very emotional thing. And there's so much information, a lot of misinformation. So the average pet owner who is very loving gets bombarded with information. Now they're Googling, and they're labeling their dogs like we label ourselves. And I'm going to talk about labeling in a little bit, but I want to tell you the goal of the show. The goal of the show is to bridge the gap between the human brain, which is very sophisticated, the neocortex, very complicated. It has complicated, humans have complicated and ambiguous emotions. Dogs are very loving. They just want to know they're safe and secure. Once they know they're safe and secure and nobody's going to hurt them, and as long as you respect their space, there's no psychotic dogs. There's not dogs.
No, it's very pure emotions.
It's pure emotion, right. It's not ambiguous emotions, meaning as long as they're not threatened by you, they'll be loyal to you. They don't care what you do. They're not homophobic. They're not racist. They really don't judge. Humans do that. That all is in the human brain. And dogs, as we'll talk about in the show, as Ashley said, they're pure, they're easy, like children anywhere in the world. I travel quite a bit all over the world. I never have any problems because I treat everybody with respect. I don't presume to. I treat everyone with respect. Man, woman, children, it doesn't matter. So I don't have to worry about cultural things. I just respect people. And if you see children anywhere in the world, I don't care if they're Taliban, Muslim, wherever the people, these racist thoughts come from, children are children. If you put a 3-year-old near water, a water sprinkler, a water hose, or just a puddle, they'll jump in it and play. That's it. So that's universal. Water and children are almost a universal plaything. And we complicate it by toxic thoughts, and we'll talk about that in the second segment in more detail. So my point to those listening at home, and we have wonderful pet owners, they really are, but sometimes they do too much. They work too hard at being a dog owner because they think their dogs have the same needs as humans do, and they don't. So we have example after that. So if you're at home and you're trying to figure out your dog, what your dog is thinking, understand something. The dog don't know anything really about our human world. Our human world is crazy. So what we like to talk about is if you look at a dog, doesn't it look more like a wolf than a human? So it's far closer to its wolf ancestors because they are wolves. So their anatomy really hasn't changed much. Their digestive system hasn't really evolved. They're not standing erect. They don't have opposing thumbs. And then we bring them into this crazy world and we expect them to adapt to it or to understand it. So we're at one of the craziest places in the world, an airport. There are things happening here that humans are stressed out about. So dogs quite naturally don't understand what a luggage carousel is. They don't know what a PA system is. And each dog perceives those things differently. And actually, Brooklyn over here is sound asleep, so none of
she's out.
She's out like a light. So I guess the point is, if your dog is at home, when the doorbell rings, there's this crazy ritual where the dog barks, you jump up, you're screaming at the dog, restraining the dog, and giving your guest a whole bunch of instructions. Don't open the door. There's drama. So wouldn't you agree, Ashley, that dogs do not do well in drama?
No, they don't.
So when we see dogs, and it's universally, a lot of kids, a lot of activity in the house, a lot of parties. These are when accidents occur. Dogs just kind of want to be chilled out. So last week we talked about, what did we talk about last week?
Talked about Rosie, pretty much the whole episode.
Right, Zooming Rosie. We got sidetracked. And the amazing Zooming Rosie. If you want to be inspired, you think you have a bad back, you stubbed your toe, just how do you do? Go to Instagram,
Zooming Rosie.
Or look at our Facebook page, and you'll see this amazing dog. She has no, she's
paralyzed.
She's paralyzed, so she has no control of her legs, but she scoots around, and she's probably one of the happiest dogs you'll ever find. Completely friendly, so she's not blaming the world. She's not blaming anyone. She's just accepts. She's not even a thought really. She just hobbles around, and she thinks that's normal.
Yeah.
And so she's pretty funny. So we're going to talk about Brooklyn after the break a little bit. And then after the second break, we're going to take her for a walk around the terminal here. And it's always we're on Facebook Live. You're working with a dog.
Pressure's on.
If pressure is on. There's no room for editing. But what I want to show is Brooklyn is a bully breed, right? A Rottweiler. She's one of the 7 categories of dangerous dogs: German Shepherds, Rottweilers, Dobermans.
Right. And you wouldn't even know she's in the studio right now.
Right. And really, we've had dogs in the studio every time we did this, and she's the most chilled out of them all.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
She's like, really, we had a Hampton last week, and he's great, but he still growled at people that were doing weird stuff. Yeah, people do weird things. So, talking to a dog, pointing at a dog, and getting into their space is really weird. People don't realize it. So one of the things we talk about is don't look, talk, or touch the dog when you don't want him in your world, and we're going to demonstrate that. Meaning, and it's a concept that sounds simple, but it's hard to do. So that's my challenge to people. When you come home from work or whatever your ritual is, don't look, talk, or touch your dog just for an hour and see how hard that is. So that's the premise of the show, bridging the gap, the anthropomorphic gap of human needs and dog needs. Dogs are simple. They have simple needs. They are tremendously social, so they need your love, your physical love. Right. They don't necessarily need you shoving dog biscuits down their throats. They need physical love, and we're going to demonstrate that with Brooklyn. What else do I need to say here? Do you have any other words of wisdom? How do people listen to this show or get information?
Yeah, we have a couple different ways. So it's honestly very accessible. So you can just listen through 103.9 LI News Radio on the radio if you're in the car. Another way is also through our Facebook Live. So you can check us out on Hounds Town Radio. And another way is actually if you have an Alexa at home, you can tell the Alexa to play 103.9 on iHeartRadio, and it'll bring that news station up for you, and you can listen live at 8 o'clock.
Right. All right, stay with us. After the break, we're going to talk about turbo dog training, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Brooklyn, this 12-month-old amazing Rottweiler that is just, should remove every stereotype people have about dogs, big bully breed dogs. This should remove every stereotype you've ever imagined. And she's just a nice pet. She's not a service dog. She hasn't been trained. She's just a nice dog. Get back to us, Dish on Dogs. Join us after the commercial.
She's out.
So maybe if you want, when she calls in, you can, go around a little with your little thing, and then on the next break we'll take her out. But she is really out like a light. It's kind of fun.
Knocked out right now.
And you'll tell me, all right, her name.
Sarah Jo is watching in Bergen.
Hey, Johanna. Who?
Sarah,
Who's Sarah?
from your employee from South Jersey.
Oh, really? Hey, Sarah. I know a lot of Sarahs.
Who's Sarah?
We had a nice text exchange before. She said 4 dogs, and she said, no, 3 dogs, or whatever. So it was a miscount. There was only 3 or 4 dogs. It wasn't 104 dogs.
Which
3
was
or
40.
4, yeah. But we're going to...
All right, so Alexis is on the line, so whenever you want, I told her whenever you're ready, so she just listen for a cue.
Okay.
All right, so whenever you're ready to bring her in, you can bring her in.
All right. So she's got a few minutes.
Yeah.
So can she... Okay.
She can wait, she's good. I talked to her.
All right, good.
Yeah,
It's
she's-
just a few minutes and we'll bring
Yeah,
her.
that's fine. All right, 45 seconds.
She is out cold.
She's out like a light. It's fine.
30. Ten seconds. In 5, 4, 3.
Welcome back to the Dish on Dogs, brought to you by Hounds Town USA, right here on 103.9 LI News Radio.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the Dish on Dogs. I'm your host, Mike Gould, and we're here tonight. We're actually, one of the things, Hounds Town USA, of course, as everyone knows, is home to the happiest dogs on earth. And one of the things that distinguishes us from some of our competitors, not all, but we don't discriminate against breeds. We don't breed discriminated. I find it offensive. I look at it just like I would if you told me my child couldn't go to school because he's Irish, or you think he's, so it's offensive on every level. And it's not based on any... it's based on a misunderstanding of dogs, right? So 40% of our population at Hounds Town in our play groups is probably some form of a bully breed.
For sure.
Right. So the point is, we obviously check the temperament of the dog. If you raised your dog improperly, or you trained it to do things improperly, then of course the dog can show signs of aggression towards humans and other dogs. But dogs are dogs. They're social pack animals that require, by the laws of nature, this is not my idea. I didn't invent social pack animals. They're required by nature to interact with one another in a structured environment. So tonight we have Brooklyn. We took Brooklyn. She's this beautiful Rottweiler 1-year-old. We brought her to the radio show tonight with the permission of her parents, her mother, Alexis.
Yes.
Is it Alexa or Alexis?
Alexis. Alexa is what you listen to.
Right, okay, I get that mixed up. So, but here it is. It's 8 o'clock at night, 8:20, and Brooklyn is out like a light, and she is not moving. So hopefully I'm going to make a squeaky toy to check to see if she's still... all right, there, she looked up. So I want to use Brooklyn to dispel the stereotype. She hasn't been trained to be good. She's just good. She's just a nice dog adopted by a wonderful person who I think is on the line. Why'd you roll your eyes? She's not a wonderful person? Oh,
No.
I think she is. All right. So Alexa is Brooklyn's mom, correct? Human mom.
Yes.
Okay. Alexis,
Alexis.
are you there?
Yes.
Oh, we're so excited. So we got your little baby here. I don't know if you're watching on Facebook, but
But I
she's like totally exhausted. So can you just explain? So you come to daycare, Hounds Town Daycare, a couple of times a week.
Yeah, 3 days.
3 days. Right. So I guess what is the benefit? Why do you do it? Why don't you just save the money, leave her at home, and so what? How does she benefit from this?
You know what? Like 3 days a week home alone because she gets the socialization that she needs there with the other dogs, with the other people. So I never have to worry about where I'm going to be, who she's going to run into, and if I'm going to have a problem with her, or I'm going to feel like she's got some kind of aggression issue going on. She's so friendly, and I think that's because I've been bringing her to you guys since she was, I don't know, 3 months old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just she's trained that way. So she's just used to people, different dogs, different breeds. So I never have to worry about her. So I don't really want to stop that. And she also tired, which is great.
Right.
Because then I don't have to work her out.
Right, you can have a glass of wine in peace without having to take her for 5 walks. But I completely agree. So the socialization part of it, so that was smart. A lot of our pet owners do things in reverse. They wait till they have a problem, and then they try to rehabilitate it. But just by coming, we're going to try to wake her up on our next break. You're not going to be able to watch because you're not on Facebook, but we're going to, during our 7-minute break, she's been amazing actually, but it is really funny to see her so tired. And that's what I'd like listeners to understand, that there's no way that you could give a young, spirited dog, a year-old dog, the amount of exercise that we can provide at an interactive doggy daycare. So in Brooklyn, what time do you drop her off? You like...
She does like 6:30, 6:45 in the morning, and I pick her up like 1 o'clock.
Yeah, so she runs around literally for 10 hours a day, and then she goes home, and so you clearly see the benefits of it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, she can't stop coming there. She leaves at the right time.
Right. No, that's pretty funny that they get addicted to it because you really can't provide them. She's not allowed, obviously, rightfully so, to do the things at home that she's allowed to do at doggy daycare. So she can't run around. What's that?
She said absolutely not.
Right. So that's the point. We have this outlet for her. And for all the dogs, and they actually have. Is she coming to our Valentine's Day dance next week, or is that it?
It's not next week. It's Thursday.
Oh, it's this Thursday. I was corrected. Does she have any fellas there that we should be watching out for? Or?
She does. She loves Nico.
Yes, she does love Nico.
Who's Nico?
He's a Samoyed. The white
Oh,
Samoyed the other day.
well,
Yes.
yeah, he's handsome. There might be some competition though. He's quite so that's.
She does love him very much.
And we laugh, and this sounds silly, and I talk about anthropomorphism and stuff, but the dogs really identify with another dog, and they really become attached to they really cannot like some dogs, but get along very well with the other dogs. It's incredible to watch. So listen, so what are you at work?
No, I'm actually getting ready to go to bed. I gotta go to work.
All right. Well, get to bed. We got Brooklyn under control here. We'll save the video for you. We're going to keep it till tomorrow morning, and we appreciate you allowing us to bring her here. And thank you. You're the best. Thank you for calling, dear. Go to sleep, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Absolutely. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
All right. So that thank you. So that's Brooklyn's mom calling. She's home, and now the dog is passed out. So what we do, we sometimes say we make pet ownership possible because here's a person, Alexis.
Yeah.
She's got to work. She's got things to do. Things come up unexpectedly. In fact, she was stuck in a meeting today, and that's why this even came up. She said she might not be able.
She's just working a lot. It's hard to run back and forth. She's a director at a large business. So.
Right. So she's so what would she do without us? Seriously. Now we take that worry. She's home sleeping. We're up here, and so
we're Brooklyn.
Right. But the point is that is a relief for a lot of our clients. You work in New York City, and the Long Island Railroad doesn't work. You got your dog at home, and so it's a pretty crazy kind of thing. So we like to talk about Hounds Town and all of our 17 locations is making pet ownership possible. And not only is it just a place to safeguard your dog, it's a place it's therapeutic. You'll see very few when you see Brooklyn, you'll see she's in beautiful condition. We have very few overweight dogs. Even dogs that are on medications for certain things, arthritis or different medications, once they lose 5 or 6 or 10 pounds, that they no longer need those medications. And we've seen dogs like that.
Oh,
right?
yeah, we've had daycare dogs that come in, that have been have pretty bad arthritis, pretty crippling. And the parents would bring them once a week just for daycare, and that kind of stretches them out. They're moving around. They're not jumping all over the place, but it's different than just laying at home on the couch, for 10 hours a day.
Right. And also we have the ability to group those special, let's call them special needs dogs. For our Zooming Rosie, who was in a wheelchair, she's in a group. And you can see that also. It's pretty amazing. And she actually rules the roost many times, So once we introduce her correctly, obviously a dog in a wheelchair to other dogs can be concerning, just like your vacuum cleaner is concerning. So we take good care, and we understand the dog brain. And I think we're going to talk about that after the break. We're going to talk about labeling. So humans are great at labels. So when we talked about, I asked you before, what are some of your labels? Give me some of a human label. What's your label? Start out.
I'm a woman. I am a wife.
You're a daughter.
I'm a daughter.
You're a manager.
Yep.
You're an aunt.
No.
You're an uncle.
No.
Okay. Do you have friends?
Yes.
Okay. You have friends. So the point of the matter, you are religious.
Yeah.
You have a religion.
Yeah.
You have. You live on Long Island, so you're from the Northeast. So my point is, I don't want to know your politics, but people are conservative. They're Republican. They're liberal. That is. I'm older than her. My list, if you really start breaking it down, will take 2 pages of my labels. And with each label we have as humans, we start assigning those labels to dogs. And one of the labels of Brooklyn is first her name. So dogs in the wild don't have names. So we've given her a name. We've taken her away from her pack. And now we've identified her as this bully breed. We're not going to take a break. For those listening on the radio, we're going to take a break. For those of you on Facebook, we're going to try to wake up Brooklyn. I don't know if it's possible. And we're going to just walk around the airport and see how she was. And after the break, we'll talk about some of the things we do with dogs to understand them better. And we'll talk about our charity. Join us after our long break for you listeners on the radio. Bye. All right, take her. Okay, guys.
Do I unplug?
Yes, you can unplug and it'll just switch the audio over.
Let's see if we can do it real quick.
Just put it on the ground.
Yep, put it on the ground. Brooklyn.
Wakey, wakey.
She's out cold. Do you have cookies?
Take these for one little. There's only one trick we're going to trick you. We only give food for one thing and one thing only. The rest is love, physical love. Let's go. Let's see what's happening.
You can go ahead, Dee.
Come out here. Keep an eye. This way. Go this way. So here, if you want to see a beautiful dog, she just woke up, so she's a little tired. But watch. Come over towards me. Come to a stop and ask her to sit. No food, but look at Ashley's, there's no tension. So on the first segment, we talked about tension on the leash. There's music here. I have my squeaky toy. I have my ball rolling. I have food in my hand. So we talk about dogs reacting to their environment. And this is a crazy environment. So Ashley's just going to walk out with her left foot. And then you're going to make a left. Notice that she's relaxed. Listen to this PA system. If you think the dog knows what that is, we'll put her up on her.
And do not accept any package or beverage from someone you do not know.
This is the only time we're going to give her a treat. Think of how simple this is. And she wasn't trained to do this. We started working with her today. Walk away.
Thank you for using Isaac's Long Island Macaca.
Keep an eye. So let's say you're in your backyard. Now this is a simple task to treat. You don't have to do anything. We can play ball, throw. I can throw my squeaky toy. That doesn't, so this is not oppressive. This wasn't done, we have a little nylon collar on her. We don't talk to dogs, we don't touch them, we don't look at them. We don't tease them. Now, throw the ball. And then as you'll get in front of Brooklyn, get low and call her, help her. Good, off they go. And then she walks, she can go fast. She can come back. Now here comes one of those, what are they called? The Zambonis or something, these damn things that kind of, what is it?
I don't know what that is.
But think of what that is. It's a creature coming creeping here. Most dogs would freak out over this. So this is all nice and relaxed. Come towards me. Actually, have her go back up on our place. So we tell a dog to go to place. It could be a mat, it should be a crate. She's had a long day, so we probably pushed her a little much. We were working with her a little bit. She gives her a treat. And I just stay out of her business. She's a nice dog. She's loving.
3 minutes.
What's happening?
3 minutes.
All right, we almost got to go. But I just want you to see the beauty of the dog. There's nothing. There's no yelling. We didn't say stay. We didn't say sit. We didn't say anything. The dog understands it because we understand the dog brain. All right, let's get in front of her. Tell her to come. She loves, and we're going to go back in the studio, get resituated, and we'll just talk a little bit about the toxic human brain and its effects on a beautiful dog. Atta girl, let's come in, say hello to all our friends out there. And now she can go back to sleep. And would you agree, this was done, there's been no formal training. If mom saw that, she'll maybe call back next week. Or, the dog wasn't trained to do this. We've been playing around with her today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or we can bring it to the airport without having difficulty. How long was talk about?
I'll check it, Dee.
What do we have? 3 more segments? No, 3.
To wait till it just catches up.
Hi, babe. The dog wasn't trained to do this. We've been playing around with her today, right?
Yeah.
2 minutes.
To the airport without having.
Yeah, we're good, Dee. Yep.
And then we got somebody else coming on, so we got to get in and out of here real quick, all right?
Yeah,
Clean
yep.
up and get the first thing.
We just take it out and then
Maybe,
hack
you
everything
know what we'll
outside.
do on the second break? We'll take this sign down, this way.
Yeah, it's just done,
In
yeah.
2 minutes, we can get rid of that. We can start packing some of this stuff up. All right, well, just have to help me though. Sometimes I get lost in what I'm saying. So you got to be ready to jump in a little bit.
She's exhausted.
She really
I've been
is.
playing all day. There's 3 minutes.
Oh, atta girl.
I'll send a picture of mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, take a picture of her.
Brooklyn.
Get behind her maybe. Get in the picture with her.
Yeah, it's me. Yes, you. Is it squeaky toy?
Yeah,
Squeaky
good.
toy?
There you go. Go. Hey, Brooklyn. Good. Post that.
30 seconds. $15. 10. And 5, 4, 3.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of the station, JVC Broadcasting, management, or its sponsors.
Do you wish you knew what your dog was thinking?
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Dish on Dogs. I'm your host, Mike Gould, and we're talking about dog behavior and the difference between the human brain and the animal brain. There's similarities, of course, but there's also very drastic differences.
Yeah.
I'm here with Ashley, and if you were watching on Facebook, so we have this amazing dog, and so Brooklyn is this 1-year-old Rottweiler, right?
Yeah.
So back in the 60s and 70s, Rottweilers were the most dangerous dogs. They were,
They're like junkyard dogs.
Junkyard dogs. Then we had Doberman. Actually, in the 60s, we had Dobermans. That now, of course, it's pit bulls, and it's never the dog. It's always the human. So as Brooklyn's mom said when she called, this dog has been completely socialized since a puppy. So she has no problems. I mean, it's really quite amazing. Every week we have a dog on the show, and everyone has a little bit of a different personality. Some were barking at people, looking
Or
in the...
petrified like my dog.
Right, your dog was petrified at the PA system, the floor surfaces, because we take for granted these things. And the animal can't take it, they can't rationalize these things. They come from a natural world of, woods and dirt and natural vegetation. They don't know what a carousel at an airport is. They don't know what a PA system is. But the reason I'm so excited about Brooklyn is this should dispel anything you ever heard about Rottweiler. Now, do dogs bite people? Of course they do. Are there horrible things that occur with pit bulls, Rottweilers, German Shepherds, Chows, every big breed? Why? Because they're big. So a 10-pound Chihuahua might bite, but it's not going to maul somebody. And a dog will not maul somebody unless it was socialized improperly. They just don't wake. They're not psychotic. They don't wake up one day. They're not serial killers. That's only humans do that. This is humans. There is no psychosis in the dog brain. How do I know this, Ashley? How many dogs have we taken care of since our inception?
Hundreds of thousands, I think, right? 100,000 dogs?
A million. Have you been listening to the show the last couple of weeks? Yeah, we've taken...
I guess that this year.
Or no, not this
100,000.
year. No, we've literally taken care of 1 million dogs. And not that we specialize in aggression, but we take dogs with aggressive behavior, what that seems to be aggressive behavior, and we understand that. So I'm not saying that every Rottweiler, that's like saying every Irish person or every German person, whatever you say always and everyone, you're making a mistake. So we don't judge. Dogs live in the moment of time. This is what makes them wonderful. They're very loyal. They're not thinking about getting a raise. They're not thinking about if there's going to be snow this tomorrow and who's going to shovel the driveway. They just want to look up and know there's somebody there that's not only going to take care of their physical needs, their food, their shelter, but are you taking care of their brain? And you know what the answer to that is? Very few people, very few pet owners take care of the dog brain. You're not the leader to your dog. You're very nice, you love them, you buy them wonderful things, but when the doorbell rings, or you turn on the vacuum cleaner, or the landscaper shows up, you're no longer in charge, and they feel they have to defend their territory. And it's kind of sad because you can train them, just like we're training Brooklyn here, to understand that she doesn't have to fear the carousel. She doesn't have to fear dragging luggage. A lot of dogs get very out of balance when they see luggage, because what is it? It's a moving, rolling creature. Thank you. Cars, bicycles. So dogs, as you should know, are predators. They kill things with their canine teeth. They chomp them up and they swallow them. They eat the intestines. They eat their own feces. They eat their own vomit. So these are our dogs. This is the reality of it. So, you have to understand the difference of that. And most importantly, they live about, 18 inches off the ground. So our friend Brooklyn that's roaming around the studio, if she wants the treats, the food that's up on the table was designed for us. We're sitting up here, so our world is designed about 5 or 6 feet off the ground. And dogs don't have opposing thumbs, so how the hell are they going to get their leash? How are they going to open the door? How are they going to make food? The only way they can do it is if they manipulate the human being. And sometimes that's all they have to do, is they have all day long to understand what shoes you're putting on. They tell time by your rituals. They don't have a watch. They don't know what time it is. They know what time it is the first second your feet hit the floor. They know it's on. Then they know your ritual. You go to the bathroom, you come downstairs, you get their food, you let them out of the crate, whatever your ritual is, they have this figured out. So what I encourage pet owners to do, to think about that and change your rituals around. That's how simple some of these things are. Just change your rituals around. Just pick up your leash and then put it away. Pick up your leash, put it away. The dog will look at you like you're crazy, but that will remove the anxiety, because that's anxiety. A barking dog has anxiety, right? It could be happy anxiety, but it's anxiety. I mean, this is why we domesticated them, or they domesticated us, because we want them to alert us to changes in our environment. And they do that very well. But we also have to take charge of what, they can't make moral decisions on who's coming in and out of your house.
They have expectations.
They have expectations, right. So of course a dog should alarm bark, alert you to a change in the environment. A change in the environment could be something in the backyard. But it's up to the human to look out in the backyard and realize it's nothing there. It's not the dog's responsibility to kill the next door neighbor or kill the burglar. That's just ludicrous. So this is kind of what we do, is explain why a dog is doing certain things. So what do you think of, like, when dogs come, what is like the number one behavior that you see that people tell you this is what the dog does?
Probably pulling on a leash is probably one of the biggest behaviors. Between that and leash aggression, I mean, that's one of the biggest ones, jumping and pulling.
Right, so jumping is really the one I was thinking of. Right, so pulling on a leash, so remember, it's unnatural for a dog to be tethered to something. As I said in the earlier segment, a dog is closer to a wolf than it is a human. These are contraptions that humans invented, harnesses and leashes. So it's unnatural. Dogs in the wild aren't tethered to anything, and then when we do attach them to a leash, we remove their ability to either flee, which they'd rather do. They don't want confrontation. They don't want to fight the next door neighbor's dog. They don't want to fight the UPS guy. They want to scare them away, and then they can go back to relaxing. But we've set up this scenario, this ritual, where we put them in this very terrible position. So when you teach a dog what to do when the doorbell rings, when you teach a dog what a vacuum cleaner is, it makes his life better. So if you want to make your dog's life better, teach him about our world, but teach him in a way that his brain understands.
Right. Not by talking to them.
Right, dogs don't process.
Sit down and say, this is a vacuum.
You can't read them a book. I don't know how electricity works. I know you push it, put a plug in a wall, and then electric, I don't know.
The light turns on.
The light turns on. So it's like teaching a child how to ride a bicycle. There's a simplicity to it. And we have all the answers, or most, I shouldn't say that. We have most of the answers. And by the way, when these shows open up, it always says it's the views and the opinion of me. Of course, it's the views and opinion of us. The dog world is so toxic that you could ask 10 different people, dog behaviors, vets, your next door neighbor, the clerk at PetSmart. You can ask them one question and you'll get 10 different answers.
Yeah.
About everything.
That's even vets' offices, nothing against them, but it is up to opinion.
Of course it is. Vets don't, listen, with all due respect to vets, I think they're great, but they don't know a lot about behavior. They study the anatomy. So when a customer comes in to us and the dog is sick, we don't try to diagnose the anatomy of the dog because we're not vets. We send them to a vet. So vets, it doesn't matter what people think. That's the toxic part of it. That everybody thinks they know something, and then add that going on Google and say, well, Rottweilers, it's this kind of a pet, whatever, it's ridiculous. So as these shows go, I get more aggravated, right? I start out nice and calm, and then I see every dog problem is associated with a human. Every dog in a shelter is in there because of a human, somehow or another. Right. Somehow or another, they didn't come down from the mountains and turn themselves into a shelter. They didn't come down and kill people. We domesticated them, or they domesticated us, for better or worse, and now they're our hostages. And we're going to talk about that, because what happens is these dogs end up in shelters, and you go on with the rest of your life, and it's a very emotional thing, and it's very sad. But our charity, Hounds Town Charities, is another entity, and that's what we do. We take dogs and try to put them connect them with human beings. And we're going to talk after the break about Hounds Town Charities. We're going to talk about the dogs we have there, particularly Bruno.
Yes.
He's from where?
Town of Brookhaven.
Town of Brookhaven. He's this big,
Dopey.
dopey pit bull. He doesn't have a malicious bone in his body, similar to Brooklyn, but he's hard-headed. He wants to do what he wants to do. So he's not for everybody. I said so to somebody he shouldn't be with children, and some genius got really upset that I said, that we said that. So this is, we have to make good judgments. So if a big dog knocks a kid off a deck and he cracks his skull or breaks his neck, it's just as bad as if they were bitten. This is the Dish on Dogs. I'm your host, Mike Gould. Join us after the break, and we're going to talk about Bruno from the town of Brookhaven. Town of Brookhaven. See you after the break. All right, let's wrap this thing up and just put some stuff away so we can leave quickly.
All right, 60 seconds.
Yeah, oh, it's only 60 seconds. Maybe. Yeah.
I got it quick.
You got it
can
quick.
open the show.
Yeah, I can do that. Is everybody still listening?
Yeah, I got a few.
All right, good.
It's weird because people are jumping on, but the view count is the same. Yeah, but it keeps telling me like Daryl just jumped on.
Daryl.
Yeah, he brings me and John. He brings his dog for baths.
Yeah, we'll start wrapping up so we can get out of here real quick. So we'll talk about Bruno. Then I'm going to smoke a cigar.
All right. 10 seconds.
This is what I got.
Yeah, everybody's easier for you to try.
In 5, 4,
That's fine.
3.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Mike Gould. You're listening to The Dish on Dogs, the show about dog behavior and trying to kind of interpret dog behavior, why they're doing it. Dogs do things naturally. Why? Because they're dogs. So they dig holes, they chew furniture. They don't know they're chewing furniture, they don't know they're chewing your nasty slippers, but they chew things because it has odor on it and it makes them feel good. They don't understand that you may have went out and bought a $5,000 couch. It's not in their brain to understand that, particularly if you don't teach them what it is. So dogs do one thing, and then owners do something else. When we take dogs into our program, and we do our turbo dog training, we talk about not what dogs do, but how people react to the dog's behavior. So for example, before the break, we talked about a simple behavior, jumping. So a dog jumping, it's the first social boundary they cross. That's a way to test somebody. It's like a test, right? So when we, as humans, we shake hands with people. That's the way we test social interaction, right? We put out our hand and we shake hands. And by doing that, we set a boundary, right? About a 3-foot boundary. We shake hands, we look each other in the eye and say, hi, how do you do? And that's how we start figuring out if somebody's a threat to us or not. So dogs, the first thing they do, many times, not always, is they jump. So they jump and they see your reaction. So if you yell and scream, they don't care, they bark at each other. So you yelling, no, get off of me, it means nothing to them. And you probably touch them. And then they learn by you jumping, they will be touched. And they're really looking for your opposing thumbs. So they're spending their life trying to figure out how to do things, and they watch your behavior using a hands to do everything. So we talk about managing dogs, not training dogs, right?
Yeah.
Managing dogs.
Managing, yeah.
Not necessarily training, because we don't really care if a dog sits and stays at the front door. We really just don't want him to run out the front door.
Just respect that boundary.
Just respect that boundary. So if the doorbell rings and a dog just knows to go to another part of the house, then you don't have to teach him. I spend time, we go to people's houses and they're working on the stay and they're doing this. You shouldn't be working on it. It's through some level of consistency. When you see Brooklyn, if you were watching during the break, and if you weren't watching, watch the video on Facebook, on Hounds Town Radio Facebook, and you'll see there was no training involved. This dog wasn't, this is so simple, but humans complicate it. We like things complicated because our brains are complicated. So the analogy I used earlier was riding a bicycle. Think about reading a book on how to ride a bicycle. How would you even write the book? You don't need to know about how a bicycle works. You don't need to know about sprockets. You don't need to know about chains. You don't need to know what make it is. You just have to figure out how to do it. And it's simple. You don't look down, you look up, you start pedaling, you fall, you get back up, you pedal, you fall, you get back up. And by the time you know it, you're riding a bicycle. And dog behavior is that similar way. But it's all triggered by human behavior, not the dog behavior. All right, talk a little bit about the charity.
So we wanted to talk about Bruno tonight. So hopefully we'll have him on next week, maybe.
Maybe if he behaves.
Yeah, if we can get him in an airport. He's from town of Brookhaven, and he was labeled, brought in because he was with a family, and he's, like we were saying before, he's a big, powerful dog. He doesn't have a mean bone in his body, but he knocked the kids over. So, that came into a problem when he was knocking kids over, and, I don't think it was the best solution, but they sent him to the shelter.
Right.
And the shelter, and I feel like the people that work there and the volunteers, labeled him not to go with kids, because they don't want to see him back at the shelter.
Of course.
Not saying he's vicious and he's going to bite
vicious,
someone or
right.
anything like that, but it's a management issue that,
of course.
They can't see inside your home 110%. So,
but not even that. It's the point of the matter is children are the number one victims of dog bites. That's the first thing. Children are the number one victims, specifically 10-year-old kids. They're lower to the ground, they're far more animated, and they do weird things. I got a 10-year-old grandson, he does crazy stuff. He's jumping off the couch, he's squeaking, he's squealing. So children are the number one. So shelters and shelters, we have to be very careful in placing them, because if we make a mistake or the shelter makes a mistake, guess what happens? The dog gets put to sleep. It gets euthanized. So there's not a lot of room for error. So what is the big problem of just putting the dog, this beautiful dog Bruno, who is a handful, he is a handful, and he is really gets overly stimulated by other animals and children. Right. So why not accept that and put this dog, rather than have him live in a shelter, how about living with a homebound person? It's not hard. So this is my frustration, and I see the after effects of it. One of the many things I do is I testify in court on dog bite cases. So it's like the loaded gun. Guns with bullets in it can't hurt anyone unless somebody pulls the trigger. And if it, God forbid, gets in the hands of a child. But a gun in and of itself, a dog in and of itself, is harmless unless it's either socialized, trained improperly, and you don't manage his energy. And I see the after effects of all this. I get the phone call where people are crying and they never thought this would ever happen, but their dog just bit the neighbor's kid in the face. As I said, kids are number one because they're lower to the ground. If it's an adult, you might get bit, but it'll be in the leg, the thigh, or something.
And kids don't really have that spatial boundary yet. They're very, they get in your face. They really don't understand that yet.
That's exactly true. Social boundaries are hugely important, because any dog, even Brooklyn, I will tell you, if she had an ear infection, for example, and we didn't know it, and some person comes up to her and starts rubbing her ear, she might snap at them, because that's the only mechanism.
They can't tell you to stop.
They can't do anything. They can't call 911. They can't talk to you. So the only way a dog can resolve a conflict in their lives is one way. How is that?
With their mouth? With
their mouth. They don't have thumbs. They can't do anything. So if you violate their space, if you sneak up on them and put your hand in their dog food bowl and they turn around and whack you, that's a primal reaction. They're eating. If you come up to me and I'm eating my favorite steak and you come up behind me and try to take it, there might be a violent reaction. However, if you're the waiter and say, "May I take your dish?" then I take it. Different story. So we teach dogs these things, but if you don't teach them, you just love them, which most people love them, until they're too problematic. So I'm assuming Bruno, he was probably the cutest little puppy you could imagine.
Yeah.
But now he's 90 pounds. He's still the same dog, but now he's a 90-pound dog who's full of energy. So it was probably a mismatch with the owners they had. They couldn't. It's not probably. It was a mismatch, and the people brought him
cross boundaries, probably.
Right, of course. So I kind of deviated from really what I really wanted to talk about. But Hounds Town Charities is 501c3. We had our banner up before. We don't. So if you feel, we do some really wonderful things. And if you go on our charities page, houndstowncharities.org, we have some amazing dogs up for adoption. Cappuccino, he was badly abused. And even though if you go online and watch the video, It has a very happy
Yes,
ending.
it does.
They all do.
They all do, right? Every one of the dogs we've taken in.
Right. We didn't rehabilitate. They rehabilitated themselves. We don't take credit for rehabilitating dogs. We allow them to be dogs. We allow them
Right.
to.
We just manage them differently, and they change their
Exactly. They become
behaviors.
dogs. We had a deaf dog, Joe, who was highly aggressive for 7 years, and then we put him in with a pack of other dogs, and he was perfectly fine. He learned to exist very well. So anyway, yeah, so that's Hounds Town Charities. Next week, we're going to be on Facebook Live next week, Monday night. I don't know what, we're going to try to bring Bruno, the town of Brookhaven dog in, and see how that goes. And the reason we say, he's a big, powerful dog. We kind of have to socialize him, re-socialize him to the different things in the world. So we'll begin by taking him up to the Ronkonkoma train station, let him understand what a train is. To a dog, that's a huge pterodactyl running on, right? What is a train? It's a scary thing.
Right.
I've seen dogs attack the windows, the electric windows in cars, because they bite it and it disappears. So you'd be surprised how dogs can become obsessed with certain things, and we can talk about that next week. I didn't really hit all the points I wanted to make on labels. How many labels we have as human, it's exhausting. If you knew how many labels I have, and then I have a responsibility for each one. I say I'm a grandfather, I'm a friend, I'm a boss, I'm a this, I'm an employee. I have a ton of these labels. Dogs, and then we label our dogs. I have, it's a Rottweiler, people call, how they are. I have a Terrier, how they are. And my answer is no, I don't know how they are. You tell me how they are.
We have 100 dogs a day, and they're all different, no matter what breed they are.
Right, thank you. We have 100 dogs a day in our building, and they're all interacting with one another safely and having fun. They're allowed to hump, jump, and dump. We allow dogs to have an outlet for their craziness, as Brooklyn has a perfect outlet. She's sound asleep now because she ran around. She's like, she doesn't even know what the hell she's doing here. So listen, you're listening to The Dish on Dogs. We're going to be live Monday night at 8 p.m. We're always on 8 p.m. Monday nights. Follow us on Facebook.
Yep, follow us on Facebook, Hounds Town Radio. You can also listen live on linewsradio.com.
linewsradio.com. Our friends in Florida, and Brian, and all my friends in Scott, and Tom, and Todd, and Johanna. I got a few friends. We'll see you next week, folks. Thanks for listening.
See you later.